Okay, people, so now that the Boruto anime with the latest episode, episode 222, has gotten to the point of essentially now we're going into the new Chunin exams, once again focusing in on the next generation of characters, there's something that definitely I feel needs to be said regarding the next generation. Like, I've covered a lot of different things about the Boruto story, but I never really focused in on my thoughts and feelings truly about the next gen characters, other than the fact that, you know what I'm saying, like, I really like Naruto and Sasuke and Sakura in the previous gen, you know what I mean? And I feel as though it needs to be said that nobody gives a... Haha, you thought I was gonna say that, didn't you? Nah, we really gotta dive into it, because I feel like this definitely needs to be said when it comes to the next gen. Let's talk.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
Now, in case you don't know, in terms of the manga and anime of Boruto, there's very big differences regarding the spotlight that is used to focus in on characters. The manga Boruto definitely primarily focuses in on, if it's not Team 7, the usage of the previous gen, in particular Naruto, Sasuke, etc., etc. But for the most part, in the manga, the spotlight is given to Team 7, and as of late, the spotlight in particular when it comes to Team 7 even got reduced further once the introduction to Kawaki really became a major aspect. It was like initially in the Boruto manga, it was Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki that got the primary focus, but then as Kawaki became more of a mainstay, it did something similar to what the original Naruto series did, in terms of it started off where you had, you know, the Konoha 11, you had all of the rookies, you had everybody that was, you know, a big cast of characters in the Naruto story being focused in on, and then as the story progressed, it started to close in on primarily focusing in on, okay, well, what's Naruto doing? What's Sasuke doing? Hey, Sakura's here from time to time, but yeah, Naruto, Sasuke, like, that's really what it did, and it seems as though Boruto, with the manga at the very least, has really went in that direction as well, in terms of a lot of Kawaki, a lot of Boruto. Oh, hey, here's Sarada, Mitsuki from time to time, but yeah, Boruto, Kawaki, like, it really went in. And in the anime, to a certain degree, while yes, it's still, that's the pecking order ultimately, if it's not the next gen that comes in to really grab the attention of the masses, Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, etc., etc., it focuses in on Boruto, Kawaki, but also, I feel like that's what the anime original stuff is good for, that it gives the spotlight to not only Team 7, because it's clear as day that the pecking order goes as follows, at the very least, when it comes to next gen. It's Boruto, Kawaki, Mitsuki, Sarada, and then the rest of the generation. And there's definitely big possibilities for things to change, even regarding the manga, when it comes to the next generation of characters, because for starters, one of the big things that could happen is, once we get the time skip, they could ratify a lot of these characters and make them vastly different, to the point that they're a little bit more interesting, because there's no denying that one of the things that stops these characters from being the most interesting is that a lot of, especially the ones that are, you know, offspring from the previous gen, they almost feel like either clones or not as unique and interesting as their parents were. Again, you know, you go to Metal Lee, like Metal Lee, the big thing that changes him from Rock Lee is the fact that he has anxiety. He deals with some very extreme nervousness that ultimately really is his downfall in a lot of aspects. Even in some of the latest episodes, like, he failed the Chunin exams once again because he was too freaking nervous. And you compare that to Rock Lee, that was a go-getter, that he was going to do whatever, give me the surgery, I got my leg broke, I'm still going to be a shinobi, ain't nobody stopping me. You can't really compare. Now, if we was to go through a time skip and make Metal Lee maybe not necessarily like his father per se, because again, it would just be comparing him to Rock Lee at that point, but maybe he gets over the anxiety and something crazy happens when he gets extra nervous, to the point where he unlocks gates via the nervousness, which I think they kind of hinted and flirted with certain aspects of that, but that would be a humongous thing. And then kind of even maybe a wardrobe design change, to be honest with you. Like, he could still have a lot of the green jumpsuit look, but definitely revitalizing the character via, you know, a radical change. You come into a time skip and you see all of a sudden Metal Lee is like taller, a little bit more confident. Maybe he becomes either a ladies man, or he's really primarily only focused in on training with certain people. Like, there's a lot that could be done. In the latest episode, one of the things that really grabbed my attention the most was the next generation of Ino Shikacho, and how they have that complex of, which I think they're the ones that, for the most part, it is okay that there's something with their parents, because their parents raised them all together. They're all like one big family, the next gen of Ino Shikacho, similar to how their parents had the whole ordeal of Ino Shikacho. Like, that's a big family tradition of keeping keeping them together. So I feel like with those three in particular, you could argue maybe keep it somewhat exempt, although you could say that Shikadai is literally Shikamaru, like just with a different name. Like, that's really for the most part with Shikadai. He's straight up almost damn near a clone. You could argue he's less lazy than his father. Everything was a bother to his father. Everything was, annoying. I don't feel like doing this. Oh my god, what a drag. Like, Shikadai ain't like that. And I'd argue that in terms of from the other teams, aside from, again, Team 7, moving them aside because you already know they're the most important of the new gen, Shikacho is up there in terms of, like, they're the most somewhat interesting. Like, love or hate Chocho, every time Chocho is on screen, she gets your attention, doesn't she? And I feel like there's a lot of latent potential. Like, imagine we go through a time skip and boom, her character design changes to where she's a lot more slimmed down, similar to how she's been trying to perfect the butterfly form that her father did. Imagine if in Shippuden, Choji immediately started off in the butterfly form and he could already use it to his advantage. That would have been crazy. So imagine if we do that in Boruto Z with changing up Chocho a little bit and not necessarily focusing in on, she just likes to eat and doesn't really care. And I feel like stuff like what they're doing with the new Chunin exams, how they have her a little bit more serious, that she wants to catch up. She don't want to be a drag down to Shikadai because he refuses to put on his Chunin vest until they become Chunin, her and Inojin. That could be really good. Inojin, of the three of the new Ino Shikacho, I'm not the most fond of. I feel like there's potential as well there, but I feel like Inojin out of the three of them definitely needs the most radical change, just because he started off the most unique and yet he wasn't really all that interesting from jump of Boruto. Like, Sai wasn't an interesting character, to be honest with you, either. He was always just like, hey, that fourth member, the phantom member, the replacement to Sasuke that nobody really accepted because everybody wanted Sasuke. And Ino was pretty cool, but yeah, a male Ino mixed with Sai, it just doesn't mesh well. So a radical departure for Inojin and a time skip is absolutely necessary. And again, it could be done because if Ino Shikacho has been important throughout every iteration of these generations, this one could be really awesome as well. It just needs a little bit of fine-tuning. Characters like the original ones from the anime, I don't really expect much of, and to be honest with you, I expect for them to continue the course of not being all that relevant, such as Denki and Iwabe. Iwabe I always felt like was just the anime's answer to, you're not going to see Kawaki for a very long time, this is the best thing we can give you, a Walmart version of Kawaki. And that's why I'm like, he's a little more bad in certain areas than Kawaki, I'll give him that, but I don't expect, because he's straight up basically a filler character that only resides in the anime's universe, we've never even heard mention of him, if I'm not mistaken, in the manga. I don't expect for him and Denki to do much other than like, hey, if there's something that is anime exclusive, they'll be important to it, but I don't expect them to break the mold, or when the story gets focused in again on manga things, for them to be relevant, because we've seen already during the Ishiki Osutsuki stuff, most of the next generation were shafted, especially them, because they don't exist in the realm of the manga, which is ultimately the source material that when big things happen, characters from that stuff need to be focused in on. Another team that I feel like there's potential there, they would have to definitely focus in on them more, give them more in the manga, whether it be kind of actually introducing them or whatnot, is Team 15, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I've been really harsh on Team 15 a lot, but I feel like there's potential. For starters, they have that samurai girl, which they're flirting on her going back to the land of iron. I don't see that happening. Like, she is probably, of the three of them, the one I'm most excited about, because she's like a hardened shinobi in a sense, even though she's a samurai, but obviously she's on Team 15 in Konoha. So I like her character, and I feel like her as a grown or, time skip version of her can be really, really badass. So she could be one of the most badass next gen characters. They just need to, again, play around with her design and honestly just get to the time skip and give her more importance. A lot of the next generation, that's the problem with almost all of them, is that the manga isn't focusing in on them, so the anime has to make up for the lack of presence for any of them. Then the other two characters, the cat girl, I can't even remember her name, hit or miss, and then the one that's friendly, again, hit or miss. Like, I remember some of their names, I don't remember all of them. I think the samurai girl, is her name Tsubaki? I want to say it's Tsubaki. The Kakashi lookalike, that he's like a big Kakashi fanboy, I want to say his name is Hoki. He's alright. I don't expect for him to be too central to anything, because again, the manga never really introduced him, and I feel like there's potential heavily if in a time skip they show him and he's taken his love for Kakashi even further, and now he has a new ocular power, and how did he get that power, and what does it connect? Like, there's some big potential with him as well. Or who knows, he could be that, you know, when they say don't meet your idols because they disappoint you, it could be a radical departure that, yo, he was a big Kakashi fan, but due to certain things that he found out about Kakashi, or due to things not happening the way he wanted it to, he becomes kind of totally different. That would be very interesting, and again, something unique to this next gen, because there's no doubt that the next gen obviously has been shafted again from the manga stuff, and in the anime usually focuses in on them on times that the fandom as a whole, the entirety of Boruto, Naruto Next Generation fans, aren't really all that enthralled in, even though I'd argue that the latest episode 222, had a couple of cool things, mainly with Ino Shikacho. And my answer to all that, again, as I've been saying, is the time skip. The time skip could really focus in on so many different things, even when we go into the manga stuff, because once we get a time skip, first of all, if you remove Kawaki from the equation, automatically, again, a lot of that spotlight has to move forward into the next gen. On top of that, the fact that Naruto and Sasuke have been nerfed, they're not going to be like, hey, they gotta get into the story, because how much help are they going to be after a certain point? So there's a lot of aspects in terms of once you remove Kawaki from the equation, you remove Naruto and Sasuke from the equation, well, what's left? Okay, we got Team 7, you know, next up in line is going to be Mitsuki and Sarada, which I hope desperately that we get more focus in, because early on in Boruto, it seemed like they were the most important alongside Boruto, and then again, once Kawaki got introduced, it was like, So focus in on them and their relationship with the next gen. Do a whole rebrand with a lot of these characters, because it's there. Like, I see some of the moments in these episodes of the new Chunin exams, especially the latest one in particular, I see that there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of room for potential to be important. Like, imagine the next big villain shows up, the next threat, let's just say it's against this guy Code, that he's gearing up for whatever he's about to do. Imagine all of the next gen jumping in and trying to fight. Even if they take L's, it would be really good to see, and very important that, hey, the next generation is here, they're trying their damnedest. If the 10 tails that has been in captivity that we saw in the anime, if that goes loose and we got to see the next gen jumping in, there's a lot of things that they could do. If they're not going to focus in on all of the previous generation anymore, it's been established, this is Boruto, you'll see them from time to time, but it's about this new generation, then give it to this new generation, make them more important in the manga, show them in heavy situations, and make you actually care about them outside of the original anime canon stuff, because if you give a nice blend between the two of them, when big and important things happen, you will possibly like them, even dare I say love some of them, because some of them are interesting. I gotta say and stress again, I think that Samurai Girl has so much potential from Team 15. Metal Lee, again, though, they need to do something, and I just don't even know how it works, because a lot of the times, like, again, if characters don't even exist in the verse of the manga, or at the very least they haven't even been mentioned or introduced, how do you do something like, well, what is Metal Lee doing all this time? Like, if you wanted to bring him into, let's just say, the important stuff of the manga, where's the rest of his team? Are they going to actually bring them in? I mean, there's a possibility, similar to how Sumide initially started as an anime-only character and was so popular that they wrote her into the manga, and now is even looking like potentially a love interest for Kawaki. I think the authors of the manga have to be more concise and more in tune with the anime staff. I think they need to work hand in hand, because they could do some really cool things, get a lot of the new gen fans at that to be excited about the manga, and vice versa. They just need to work in unison and actually put a best foot forward, especially once the time skip happens, of a big rebrand of not only the show's title, not only the world of, okay, we're going into something darker, but also the characters. You bring some really cool characters that are already based on, the blueprint is there, you've seen them, you probably thought they were bums or you didn't really like them because they were new gen spin-offs of the old gen, but you make Chocho really cool in the next gen after the time skip, and all of a sudden you can bring a whole new fandom into it. Likewise with any of the characters that I already suggested, because there's already foreshadowing, there's already some type of build-up, and especially if you've been watching the anime, you know even more about them. They could do big things with the next gen. Honestly, what I had to say about the next gen is that there's potential there, and you can't even argue it's wasted because the story's not over yet. Bring them into the fold of the manga so that when big and important integral stuff like everything that 2021's Boruto anime had entailed goes down, you'll also appreciate the next gen, because it can be done. I mean, for crying out loud, every iteration of, and I've said this before and I gotta say it again, every iteration of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure introduced a whole new cast of characters, and you love them for their unique and awesome writing, right? Do the same with the next gen. In fact, you have a blueprint right here waiting, like, hello, make us interesting. Although some of them are gonna get put to the wayside again. Metal Lee, I don't know, fam. Rock Lee was too epic for you to be nervous about everything. Stop being nervous, fam. I don't know what you gotta do. Go get prescribed something so you can relax a little bit, dog, because By no means am I condoning medications of any sorts. I'm just saying, Metal Lee, what are you doing? And yes, people, I know there's going to be some people saying, yo, ForneverWorld's champion for Chocho. A rebrand of Chocho would be a big thing. Ino Shikacho, very important stuff. Shikadai, again, he's like a clone of his father, but he's like one of the only clones of the previous generation that, I don't know, it actually works. Maybe I'm just a Shikamaru fanboy, I don't know. But I'm curious what you guys think about it. If you're just, let's just say, a casual Boruto watcher that you only watch whenever it's getting hyped from the manga, how do you feel about the new generation when you see them in the anime? You know, whether it be Team 15, whether it be the new version of Ino Shikacho, Hoki, the Kakashi lookalike fanboy, Metal Lee, Wabi and Denke. How do you feel about them? And for people that are hardcore fans of the anime, you watch damn near every episode, you know all about the new gen, what do you think can be done to make them come to the forefront and make people appreciate them more as their own characters? I think one of the biggest things, again, is the manga needs to utilize them properly and things will be harmonious. They need to work together. Whoever's writing the manga, because to this point it's still like a phantom ghost, it was said Kishimoto, but we don't see Kishimoto written other than he's like, what is it, the supervisor or something like that? Yeah, whoever it is, work with the anime, bring them in, and especially when the time skip goes down, rebrand them all, and we could really like these new gen characters. It's there. And your overall thoughts and expectations for what's to come with the new gen. I personally feel like a lot of them are going to fall to the wayside no matter what. This is not like My Hero Academia where class 1A all goes together and all gets a moment like Denki, Iwabe, Metal Lee. A lot of these characters aren't going to be all that relevant. In fact, now that I think about it, Metal Lee probably gets shafted because he's on the filler exclusive team. Wow. Mans is all anxious and nervous. He's like, no, I got into the filler team. God damn it. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in, and yo, just imagine, bam, time skip begins. You see Sarada and Chocho in some epic battle going at it, training for whatever's to come. You see Mitsuki showing up doing some crazy stuff with his Sage Mode. Now he's using it because he's already at a certain point where they're not going to bother him or question him about it. Boom, you got Metal Lee not being nervous and actually being suave and debonair. Even Inojin and Shikadai on some training of next level things where it looks so crazy. Like, yeah, the time skip is what's going to make or break this new generation, and hopefully it makes it because the groundwork is there. Have an awesome day.
So just